There are three things that share your face every single morning that no amount of expensive skincare seems to fully resolve. The whiteheads, those small, white, raised bumps along your nose, your chin, your forehead, that you have been told are dead skin and oil trapped under the surface. The blackheads, the dark dots clustered across your nose and inner cheeks that you can squeeze, that come back within days, that no pore strip ever fully clears. And the pores themselves, the visible openings in the skin surface that have grown larger over the years, that catch makeup, that look textured in every photograph taken in unforgiving light. You have tried to fix all three. You have spent money. You have followed routines. You have applied salicylic acid serums at $30 a bottle, charcoal masks at $25 a tub, pore minimizing toners at $50 a bottle, expensive cleansers that promise deep purification, and the strips that pull material out of your nose and leave the surrounding skin red and irritated for 2 days afterward. None of it has produced lasting change. The whiteheads come back. The blackheads refill. The pores stay the same size, or worse, look slightly larger every year as the skin around them loses its structural support and the openings stretch. Here is what nobody has explained to you clearly. All three of these problems, whiteheads, blackheads, and visible pores, are not three separate conditions requiring three different products. They are three symptoms of the same underlying issue. And there is a single home remedy, using 2 ingredients you already own, applied twice a week for 15 minutes each session, that addresses all three at the same time, at the level where the problem actually lives, more effectively than any pore minimizing product you have ever bought. The remedy costs less than $1 per application. The ingredients are baking soda and honey. And what they do together, when combined and applied correctly, is something that the skincare industry has spent 30 years trying to replicate in serum and mask form, at 20 to 50 times the price, while never quite matching the simplicity and effectiveness of the original kitchen formulation. Welcome to Dr. Redmond, Skincare for Women. Let's get into it. Before I give you the protocol, I need to explain why whiteheads, blackheads, and open pores are the same problem. Because once you understand this, you will see exactly why most products fail and why this remedy works. A pore is a follicular opening, the visible end of a hair follicle on your face. Inside that follicle, your sebaceous gland produces sebum, your skin sheds dead cells from the follicle wall, and external debris from the air and your environment can settle. In a healthy, well-functioning pore, all of this material flows smoothly outward. Sebum coats the skin and supports the barrier. Dead cells are released and washed away. Debris is carried out with the natural flow of oils. But when this flow is disrupted, when sebum becomes thick, when dead cells accumulate faster than they shed, when the follicular opening gets partially blocked, the contents of the pore start to back up. They cannot exit smoothly. They begin to accumulate inside the follicle. What happens next determines which of the three symptoms you see on the surface. If the accumulated material stays sealed inside the follicle, covered by a thin layer of skin at the surface, you get a whitehead. The material trapped inside is the same: sebum, dead cells, debris. But because it is enclosed, it does not oxidize. It stays white. It pushes against the surface from below, creating that small raised bump. If the accumulated material reaches the surface but the follicle is not fully sealed, if the opening is exposed to air, the same material oxidizes. The lipids in the sebum react with oxygen and turn dark. That is what creates a blackhead. The dark color is not dirt. It is oxidized sebum and dead skin cells exposed to air. And if this cycle continues over years, if the pore is repeatedly congested, repeatedly stretched by accumulated material, repeatedly inflamed by the bacterial and microbial activity that thrives in clogged follicles. The structural tissue around the pore weakens. The collagen and elastin that gave the pore opening its tight, small shape become disorganized. The opening physically expands. What was once a small, barely visible pore becomes a large, visible opening that no longer holds its shape. Whiteheads, blackheads, open pores. 3 symptoms. 1 mechanism. Material accumulating in follicles that cannot release it efficiently, with the surface presentation depending on whether the follicle is sealed, open, or chronically expanded. Now here is why most products fail to address all 3. Salicylic acid works inside the pore. It dissolves the lipid material and helps clear congestion. But its concentration in over-the-counter products is often too low to penetrate effectively, and its action is purely chemical without addressing the surface accumulation that contributes to the problem. Pore strips physically pull the top layer of material off blackheads, but they only remove what is right at the surface. The deeper congestion remains, refills the pore within days, and the mechanical force of removal damages the surrounding skin and contributes to the structural stretching that makes pores larger over time. Charcoal masks absorb surface debris but do not penetrate into the follicle deeply enough to address established congestion. Pore-minimizing toners temporarily tighten the surface skin around the pore, reducing visible appearance for a few hours, but do nothing to address the actual mechanism that is causing the pores to look larger. What you need is a treatment that does 3 things simultaneously. It needs to physically dissolve and lift the accumulated material from inside the follicles. It needs to address the surface buildup of dead cells that contributes to follicular obstruction, and it needs to support the local skin environment so that the inflammation that drives pore expansion is reduced. Baking soda and honey, combined correctly, do exactly these 3 things. Here is how. Baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, has 2 properties that make it effective for pore treatment when used correctly. First, it is a mild physical exfoliant. The crystalline structure of baking soda is fine enough to provide gentle mechanical action without the aggressive abrasion of crushed apricot pits or salt scrubs that damage the skin barrier. When combined with water and worked across the skin gently, baking soda lifts away the accumulated dead cells on the surface that are contributing to follicular obstruction at the openings. Second, baking soda has a chemical effect on sebum. It is mildly alkaline, with a pH of approximately 9. When applied briefly to the skin, the alkalinity has a saponifying effect on hardened sebum. It begins to break down the lipid plugs at the follicular openings, loosening blackheads and the dense material that forms whiteheads. This effect must be brief and balanced. Extended exposure to alkaline conditions disrupts your skin's acid mantle and causes the very kinds of barrier damage I have warned about in previous videos. The honey component balances this risk completely, and I will explain how in a moment. Third, and this is the property that most home remedies using baking soda overlook. When combined with the right amount of water, baking soda creates a fine paste that can be massaged into the pore openings themselves, providing both mechanical lifting and chemical loosening exactly where the congestion lives. Surface scrubs work on the surface. Baking soda paste, applied with gentle circular motion, works inside the pore openings as well. Now the honey. And this is where the protocol becomes something dramatically more powerful than baking soda alone. Raw honey, unfiltered, unpasteurized, the same kind I have discussed in previous videos for overnight skin treatment, has 3 properties that complement baking soda perfectly and address every weakness that pure baking soda treatment would have. First, honey is acidic. Its pH ranges from 3.2 to 4.5, directly in the range of your skin's natural acid mantle. When you combine baking soda with honey, the alkalinity of the baking soda is partially buffered by the acidity of the honey. The result is a paste that is mildly active at a pH that is gentler on the skin than baking soda alone would be. You retain enough of the saponifying effect to break down the sebum plugs, but you significantly reduce the risk of barrier disruption. Second, raw honey contains glucose oxidase, the enzyme that produces low levels of hydrogen peroxide when honey contacts moisture on the skin. This provides a gentle, controlled antimicrobial action specifically on the bacterial activity that is contributing to follicular inflammation and the cycle of congestion that drives pore expansion. The bacteria that thrive in clogged pores produce inflammatory byproducts that worsen the structural damage to the surrounding tissue. Raw honey suppresses that bacterial population without disrupting the broader skin microbiome. Third, honey is a humectant with significant anti-inflammatory activity. After the baking soda has done its mechanical and chemical work, the honey component supports the skin barrier, draws moisture into the treated tissue, and reduces the inflammation that the treatment process can otherwise trigger. The combination of physical exfoliation, chemical loosening, antimicrobial action, and barrier support, all in a single application, is what makes this treatment more effective than any single mechanism commercial product. Baking soda for the mechanical and chemical lifting. Honey for the antimicrobial action, the inflammatory control, and the barrier support. Combined, they address whiteheads, blackheads, and the structural environment that creates open pores all at the same time in a single 15-minute application. Here is the exact protocol. Buy raw, unfiltered honey. Available at any grocery store, health food store, or farmer's market. The label should say raw. The honey should appear slightly cloudy or opaque, not perfectly clear. A small jar costs $5 to $8 and will last you months at this application frequency. Buy plain baking soda, sodium bicarbonate. Available at any grocery store for $1 to $2 per box. A single box will last you a year of treatments. Make sure it is plain baking soda, not baking powder, not any flavored or scented variation. Twice per week, for example Sunday and Wednesday, or Tuesday and Friday, perform this treatment in the evening after your full cleanse. Cleanse your face thoroughly with your usual cleanser. Lukewarm water. Pat dry. The skin must be completely clean of makeup, SPF, and any other products before the treatment. In a small clean dish, combine 1 teaspoon of baking soda with 1 teaspoon of raw honey. Stir thoroughly with a clean spoon. The mixture should form a thick, slightly granular paste. If it is too thick to spread comfortably, add 3 to 4 drops of warm water and stir again until it reaches the consistency of a soft paste. Spreadable but not runny. Apply the mixture directly to the areas of your face where whiteheads, blackheads, and visible pores are most concentrated. For most women, this means the nose, the inner cheeks beside the nose, the chin, and the forehead. You can apply it across the entire face if needed, but focus the bulk of the product on these high-density pore areas. Once the paste is applied, let it sit on the skin for 2 minutes without disturbing it. During this time, the chemistry is working. The alkalinity is loosening the sebum plugs. The antimicrobial action is suppressing bacterial activity. The honey is beginning to penetrate. After 2 minutes, dampen your fingertips with warm water. With very gentle circular motions, massage the paste into the pore-dense areas for 60 to 90 seconds. The motion should be light. You're not scrubbing. You are providing gentle mechanical action to lift the loosened material out of the pore openings. You will feel a slight grittiness as the baking soda crystals work the surface and the upper portion of the follicular openings. This is the mechanical lifting at work. Spend extra attention on your nose and the inner cheek area where blackheads are most concentrated. Use small, slow circular motions. Do not press hard. Do not scrub aggressively. The movement should feel almost like a gentle massage, pressure light enough that you would not bruise the skin if you applied it for several minutes. After the massage, leave the paste on for an additional 5 minutes. During this time, the honey is doing its barrier-supporting and anti-inflammatory work on skin that has just been gently treated. This is a critical step that most baking soda protocols skip, and skipping it is what causes the irritation and barrier disruption that gives baking soda treatments a bad reputation. After the 5 minutes, rinse thoroughly with lukewarm water. The paste rinses cleanly without residue. Pat dry gently with a clean towel. Immediately follow with a hydrating product, a glycerin solution, a hyaluronic acid serum, or a simple moisturizer with ceramides. Your skin has just been treated, the pores have been cleared, and the surface is ready to receive hydration that it would not have absorbed as effectively through its previous congested state. That is the complete treatment. 15 minutes total, twice per week. Here is what you will experience. Immediately after the first treatment. When you look in the mirror, you will see immediate change. The whiteheads that were visible bumps are flatter or gone. The blackheads on your nose look reduced. You can see physical evidence on the rinsed paste of the material that came out. The pore openings appear smaller because they are no longer being held open by accumulated material from within. The overall skin surface looks smoother, brighter, and more refined. Days 2 and 3 after first treatment. The immediate post-treatment improvement holds. Your skin continues to feel cleaner, look smoother, and respond better to your other products. Some women experience very minor breakouts in the first week as deeper congestion that was loosened by the treatment works its way to the surface. This is temporary purging, the same phenomenon I have described for other active treatments, and resolves within 7 to 10 days. After the second treatment of week 1, the cumulative effect begins. Pores that had been chronically clogged for years are now functioning more like healthy pores. Sebum flows more freely. The surface buildup that was contributing to follicular obstruction has been cleared. New whiteheads form less frequently because the conditions that created them have been addressed. Weeks 2 and 3. The visible change becomes more pronounced. Blackheads that had been permanent fixtures on your nose for years are dramatically reduced. The pore size in the treated areas appears measurably smaller because the structural stretching is reversing as the chronic congestion ends. The skin surface in the formerly problem areas, the nose, the inner cheeks, the chin, looks fundamentally smoother and more even than it did 3 weeks ago. Weeks 4 through 8, the structural improvement consolidates. The pore openings that have not been chronically congested for a month begin to recover their original tightness. The collagen and elastin support around the pores, which had been disorganized by years of inflammation and stretching, has time to reorganize without the constant inflammatory trigger. Pores that had appeared permanently enlarged shrink visibly. The skin texture in the treated areas becomes refined to a degree that no commercial product had previously achieved. I want to address 2 important concerns directly, because these are the concerns that prevent women from trying this treatment or that lead to misuse if they do. The first concern is the warning that baking soda is too harsh for the skin. This warning is correct in some contexts and incorrect in others. Baking soda used pure, daily, in concentrated form, on already compromised skin will damage the barrier. That is a legitimate concern. But baking soda used twice per week, combined with raw honey to buffer the alkalinity, on healthy skin, with appropriate technique and immediate post-treatment hydration, does not damage the barrier. It addresses surface congestion that no gentler treatment matches in effectiveness. The combination protocol is what makes this safe and what makes the dismissive warnings about baking soda inapplicable here. The second concern is whether the acidity of the honey is sufficient to fully buffer the baking soda. The combined pH of the mixture sits at approximately 7 to 7.5, neutral to very mildly alkaline. This is significantly gentler than pure baking soda alone, but slightly above the ideal pH range for skin. This is why the application time matters. The 2-minute initial sit, the 60 to 90 seconds of gentle massage, and the 5-minute final sit before rinsing are timed specifically to allow the active mechanisms to work without prolonged exposure that would disrupt the acid mantle. After rinsing, your immediate hydrating product restores the skin's natural pH within minutes. The total time at slightly elevated pH is brief enough that the skin's buffering capacity handles it without lasting effect. This is also why the protocol is twice per week, not daily. The skin needs recovery time between treatments to fully restore its baseline acid mantle and rebuild any minor disruption caused by the active session. Daily use of this protocol would cumulatively disrupt the barrier. Twice-weekly use produces dramatic results without compromise. If you have followed everything in this video, you have a complete protocol. 2 ingredients. 15 minutes, less than $1 per session. Twice per week. A treatment that addresses whiteheads, blackheads, and visible pore size simultaneously through 4 distinct mechanisms working in concert: physical exfoliation, chemical loosening, antimicrobial action, and barrier-supporting anti-inflammatory finishing. That is what Dr. Redmond, Skincare for Women, is here to explain. Not the products that address one symptom at a time and require you to layer 3 or 4 formulations to cover the same ground. The home protocols that address the full mechanism in a single application with ingredients you already have, at a cost that makes the comparison to commercial alternatives almost embarrassing. If this is the video that finally clears the pores you have been fighting for years, share it with a woman who is dealing with the same thing. A friend who is on her 5th pore-minimizing serum and still squeezing blackheads in the bathroom mirror. A daughter who is starting to develop the same patterns and deserves to learn the right protocol from the beginning instead of after 20 years of expensive products that did not work. A sister who has accepted her textured skin as something she has to live with. She does not. The fix is in her kitchen. Subscribe to Dr. Redmond, Skincare for Women. Every video on this channel follows the same principle. Find the research, remove the noise, give you the protocol. The next video is already waiting. It covers the single overnight ingredient that prevents new pore congestion from forming, a treatment that pairs with this clearing protocol to maintain the smooth, refined skin you achieve here for the long term without ongoing aggressive treatment. I will see you there.